Did you know that there is a country where prisoners watch 4K TV and take cooking classes behind bars? Or that there is a cemetery so large that it has more dead than the living population of the city? What if I told you that there is a place where women are still captured by force and forced to marry their captors? It all sounds like a lie, right? But believe me, it's true. And that's exactly why today, Bello Mundo is going to take you on a journey to discover the planet from angles you never imagined. Because behind every country there is madness, a stroke of genius, or something absurd that defies explanation. Number 1. United States. Starting with the land of the American dream, the United States declared its independence in 1776 and has since grown to become one of the largest economic, military, and cultural powers on the planet. But even this giant had a touch of youthful genius. It was a 17-year-old student named Robert Heft who came up with the design for the 50-star flag. The project began as a school assignment and earned a B. But years later, President Eisenhower officially recognized that simple creation, which today is the symbol of an entire nation. Number 2. China. From North America, we cross the Pacific and land in China, the cradle of a civilization with more than 4,000 years of documented history. Founded as the People's Republic in 1949, the country is known for the Great Wall, which winds through mountains and valleys for thousands of kilometers. But few people know that there is also a submerged wall there. At the bottom of Qiandao Lake lies the ancient city of Xicheng, nicknamed the Chinese Atlantis, flooded in 1959 for the construction of a hydroelectric power plant, and which today holds intact streets and sculptures under the water. Number 3. Russia. Leaving East Asia, we cross over to Russia, whose modern state was born with the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, but whose imperial influence began way back in the 18th century. And anyone who thinks that traveling from one side to the other is easy is mistaken. There are 11 different time zones, which means that those who cross the entire country experience up to 2 sunrises on the same day. It is almost like dancing with time, where each horizon seems to belong to a different world. Number 4. India. After crossing Russia, we enter India, where independence was achieved in 1947 under the peaceful leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Everyone has heard of the Taj Mahal, but what few people realize is that in Varanasi there is a hotel where people go to die. The Mukti Bhawan welcomes guests who believe they are in their final days and wish to depart there, in one of the holiest places in Hinduism. They can stay for up to 15 days. If death does not come in that time, the room must be vacated for the next guest. For many, dying there is more than the end. It is liberation. Number 5. Germany. Germany is a powerhouse, and everyone knows that. But what you may not know is that it is full of interesting facts. For example, trying to escape from prison is not a crime there. This is because the law understands that the desire for freedom is a basic human instinct. On the other hand, riding a bicycle while drunk can be costly. You can lose your driver's license and even have to undergo therapy sessions and psychological evaluations. And it doesn't stop there. Dogs need passports and pay annual taxes, and if you come across someone naked in a park, that's okay. Nudism is part of German culture and practiced without taboo in various public spaces. Number 6. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, as everyone knows, is made up of 4 nations: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and at the center of it all is London, the vibrant capital where past and future walk side by side. London is one of the most popular destinations for exchange students and travelers from all over the world. And it's no coincidence. Everything happens there, from historic sporting events to major art, music, and fashion shows. But what few people know is that, despite all this modernity, there is a curious ban in the city. No advertising is allowed on buildings facing the River Thames. To get around this, a creative brand came up with a brilliant idea. At the top of the Oxo Tower building, they installed windows in the shape of the letters O, X, and O, discreetly forming the company name without breaking the law. A masterstroke that can still be seen from afar, shining on the London skyline. Number 7. Japan. After centuries of isolation and imperial rule, Japan underwent a complete transformation in the post-war period and became one of the most developed and organized countries on the planet. But behind all this efficiency, there are some very peculiar solutions. One of them is the profession of oshias, also known as train pushers. Yes, in Japan, there are people hired just to push passengers into train cars during rush hour. Wearing white gloves, with impeccable posture and great precision, they ensure that everyone gets into the car, even when it seems physically impossible. The job emerged in the 50s and gained momentum in the following years when the subway system began transporting millions of people a day. And the most amazing thing? Even when pushing, they do so with delicacy and respect. After all, we are talking about Japan. Number 8. France. France is one of the most visited countries in the world, and much of this fascination is concentrated in Paris, the capital that attracts millions of tourists every year. And among so many icons, none is as striking as the Eiffel Tower. What few people know is that at the top of the tower there is a secret apartment. It was built by Gustave Eiffel himself, the engineer responsible for the construction. The idea was to have a personal space there, with armchairs, bookshelves, a piano, and even a small laboratory. The place aroused so much curiosity that Eiffel received several offers to rent it, but he refused them all. He preferred to use it for meetings with special guests, such as Thomas Edison, who visited the space and presented him with a phonograph. The apartment remained closed to the public for decades and was only officially revealed in 2015. Today, those who climb the Eiffel Tower discover not only the view, but also this well-kept secret. Number 9. Brazil. Everyone knows that Brazil was a colony of Portugal for over 300 years and became independent in 1822. But what almost no one realizes is that Brazil was once the capital of Portugal. That's right. In 1808, fleeing Napoleon's troops, the Portuguese royal family crossed the ocean and settled in Rio de Janeiro. The result? For 13 years, the center of the Portuguese Empire was not in Lisbon, but in South America. For the first time in history, a colony became the official seat of a European kingdom. And it was precisely this turnaround that paved the way for Brazil to cease being a colony and become an independent country just a few years later. Number 10. Mexico. Leaving Brazil, we now arrive in Mexico, one of the most fascinating countries in Latin America, both for its vibrant culture and its intense history. The country proclaimed its independence from Spain in 1821, after a bloody revolution that lasted more than a decade. And among so many curiosities, one of the most surprising is right there, underfoot. Mexico City is sinking, literally. This is because it was built on an ancient lake, and the extremely unstable soil is gradually giving way. Some areas have already sunk more than 2 meters, a detail that is almost invisible at first glance, but which is part of the landscape of one of the largest metropolises in the world. Number 11. Iran. Our next destination is Iran, in the heart of the Middle East. The direct heir to the ancient Persian Empire, the country underwent profound changes until it became an Islamic republic in 1979 after the fall of the Shah. But even under a strict regime, an ancient tradition remains alive and controversial: temporary marriage, known as sigh. It works like this. A man and a woman sign a marriage contract with a pre-established duration. It can be for years, months, or even a single hour. When the time is up, the marriage ends automatically, without the need for divorce. In theory, it is a religious contract recognized by Shiite Islam, but in practice it has become a legal loophole for relationships that would otherwise be considered adultery. The woman receives a dowry but loses any right to alimony or inheritance, and in many cases the decision is not even hers, but her family's. For many women, the social cost of this agreement is extremely high. Number 12. Saudi Arabia. Still in the Middle East, we find Saudi Arabia, which was established as a state in 1932, unifying several tribes under the leadership of the Saud family. And despite its religious conservatism, the country has an unexpected fact. Saudi Arabia is the only place in the world where there is a city forbidden to non-Muslims, Mecca. Neither tourists, journalists, nor diplomats are allowed to enter. Only faithful Muslims can pass through its gates. Number 13. Israel. Amid territorial disputes and historical milestones, Israel, founded in 1948, is one of the most studied and controversial countries in the modern world. But beyond geopolitics, the country also surprises for other reasons. Tel Aviv, for example, is one of the most vegan cities on the planet. The range of restaurants offering no animal products is huge, and the vegan lifestyle has become part of the local culture. And if there is one thing that unites tradition and everyday life here, it is bread. In Israel, throwing bread away is not only wasteful, it is considered disrespectful. The practice comes from the history of the Jewish people, who faced periods of famine and exile. Therefore, the custom is to leave leftover bread next to the trash, never inside it. That way, anyone who needs it can take it. Number 14. Indonesia. Indonesia is synonymous with paradise beaches, crystal clear waters, and destinations like Bali, which attract visitors from all over the world. But not everything here is picture perfect. A few miles away, on the island of Sumba, an ancient tradition still survives and causes much controversy. We are talking about Kawin Tangkep, which literally means capture and marriage. It works like this. A group of men appear in public, grab a woman, and take her by force to the groom's family home. There, she will become his wife. There is no consent, no outside help. The woman can scream, struggle, beg, but it's as if it's all part of the ritual. Despite criticism and complaints, the practice is still tolerated by some local communities who treat it as a tradition. It's a brutal clash between ancestral culture and human rights. Number 15. Pakistan. Located between towering mountains, deserts, and large urban centers, Pakistan is a country of contrasts. Since its independence from India in 1947, it has lived amid political challenges and industrial advances. With a population of over 200 million people, it is one of the most populous nations in the Muslim world. But among so many curiosities, one may surprise sports lovers. Pakistan is responsible for more than half of the soccer balls on the planet. It is in the city of Sialkot, in the province of Punjab, that this magic happens. There, thousands of artisans sew balls by hand, using traditional techniques passed down from generation to generation. Many of the balls used in World Cups and major international tournaments come from this very place. A true center of sporting excellence, even if the country's national team rarely shines on the pitch. Number 16, Egypt. Returning to North Africa, we arrive in Egypt, land of the pyramids, the Nile, and one of the oldest civilizations in human history. The modern country gained independence from the United Kingdom in 1922 and has since balanced ancient traditions with the modernity of the Arab world. There, public displays of affection between couples are considered highly disrespectful. Kissing, hugging, and even holding hands between boyfriends or girlfriends or married couples can be frowned upon, especially outside tourist areas. The curious thing is that, at the same time, it is very common to see two men walking hand in hand or greeting each other with 3 kisses on the cheek. This strictness also appears on television. Egyptian films and soap operas cannot show kissing on screen. Foreign productions do show it, but always at the risk of being criticized for offending local values. Number 17, Turkey. Crossing the Mediterranean and reaching the Bosphorus Strait, we arrive in Turkey, a country that was born as a modern republic in 1923 after the collapse of the former Ottoman Empire. And if there is one city that symbolizes this crossroads between past and present, between East and West, it is Istanbul. It is the only city in the world located on 2 continents at the same time, with one part in Europe and the other in Asia, separated by the Bosphorus Strait. But Turkey also draws attention for its language. Turkish is full of suffixes, and the longest word in the language has 75 letters. I know it may sound like a joke, but this word exists, and I'll leave it there on your screen since I can't pronounce it. The translation doesn't help much, but it would be something like, as if you were one of those we can't easily turn into a creator of failures. Number 18, Ethiopia. Back to the Horn of Africa, we arrive in Ethiopia, one of the few countries on the continent that has never been fully colonized by European powers. For centuries, it lived under a monarchy until it became a republic in 1974. But what stands out most here is time, literally. Ethiopia uses its own calendar, which is different from ours. There are 13 months in total, 12 with 30 days, and a 13th with 5 or 6, depending on whether it is a leap year. In addition, the country is officially 7 years and 8 months behind the Western calendar. This happened because when the Catholic Church adjusted the date of Jesus' birth in the 5th century, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church kept the original count. In other words, while the world celebrates the year 2025, in Ethiopia we are still in 2017, a true journey through time. Number 19, South Africa. From the land of the Queen of Sheba, we arrive in South Africa, which gained its independence from the United Kingdom in 1910, but only got rid of apartheid in 1994. Among its symbolic records is this one. It is the only country in the world with 3 official capitals, reflecting the division into 3 capitals, the decentralization of power, and the search for a balance between the different regions and interests of the country. The city of Pretoria, for example, is the seat of executive power, including the government and the presidency. Cape Town, seat of the legislative branch, i.e., the parliament. Bloemfontein, seat of the judicial branch, including the Supreme Court of Appeal. Number 20. Nigeria. When we think of the film industry, the first name that comes to mind is Hollywood. But what few people know is that the United States ranks only third in the world in film production. First place goes to India, with its famous Bollywood. And in second place comes Nigeria, with the surprising Nollywood. Since its independence from the United Kingdom in 1960, the country has become a creative hub. Thousands of films are released every year, with stories ranging from drama to comedy, winning audiences across Africa. Number 21. Switzerland. Switzerland became a neutral federal state in 1848 and built its reputation on three pillars: stability, security, and precision. But beyond cheese and chocolate, there is something much more valuable hidden there: gold buried in gardens. According to a survey by the University of St. Gallen, about 5% of the Swiss population keeps their gold at home, and many bury ingots and coins in their own backyards. It is estimated that more than 10 tons of the precious metal are hidden underground, as if they were pirate treasures. It's a quiet way of saying that even in a country famous for its banks, there are people who prefer to keep their wealth literally within reach. Number 22. Sweden. Independent since the 16th century, Sweden is known for its advanced social model, its tradition of innovation, and for hosting the famous Nobel Prize. And among so many modernities, there is a strange rule. In Sweden, it is not allowed to give children names considered inappropriate. The government has already vetoed names such as IKEA, Elvis, and even Metallica, all to protect children from possible embarrassment in the future. Number 23. Norway. Norway gained its independence from Sweden in 1905 and has since established itself as one of the most developed, prosperous, and stable countries on the planet. With high salaries, breathtaking landscapes, and highly organized cities, the country seems to have been designed to function perfectly. This excellence goes so far that even Norwegian prisons are reputed to resemble resorts. Halden Penitentiary, for example, offers rooms with 4K TVs, minibars, private bathrooms, and even a music studio and cooking lab. Number 24. Finland. Like neighboring Norway, Finland also maintains one of the highest standards of living in the world. The healthcare system is exemplary, education is a global benchmark, and well-being indices are among the best on the planet. But what really stands out is the way Finns enjoy life. Almost everyone there has a summer house, and when the heat finally arrives after months of cold and darkness, the country practically goes into reverse hibernation mode. Services slow down, mail is delayed, and families take refuge in the countryside to enjoy every ray of sunshine with picnics, lakes, and barbecues. And if there's one thing even more serious than summer in Finland, it's the sauna. With around 5 million inhabitants and more than 1.5 million saunas scattered across the country, this ritual of heat has become an essential part of the national identity, almost a temple of Finnish tranquility. Number 25. Denmark. Denmark is one of the oldest monarchies in the world, with roots dating back to the 10th century. Over the centuries, the country has reinvented itself without losing its balance. Today, it is one of the most egalitarian, organized, and safe societies on the planet. According to the UN, Denmark consistently ranks among the happiest countries in the world. And there is a curious secret behind this, known as the 3/8 formula. It consists of 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and 8 hours of leisure. It may sound simple, but this work-life balance is taken very seriously. And speaking of leisure, the Danes are even more surprising. They visit cemeteries as if they were parks. It is common to see people sunbathing, reading, walking their dogs, or even picnicking among the graves. For them, the environment is not morbid, but peaceful, beautiful, and full of life. Number 26. Iceland. Leaving Denmark, we cross the North Sea and land in Iceland, an island of volcanoes, glaciers, and one of the smallest populations in Europe. Independent from Denmark since 1944, the country maintains unique traditions. One of them is an app, yes, a dating app, that alerts you when two people are closely related. With such a homogeneous population, it was necessary to avoid accidental encounters between distant cousins. The app vibrates when there is a family match, ensuring that the only spark is in the romance, not the family tree. Number 27. Austria. Austria lost its empire at the end of World War I and became the modern republic we know today in 1918. Today it combines Baroque architecture, classical music, and an enviable quality of life. And even surrounded by beauty, there is a curious contrast right in the heart of Vienna. The Zentralfriedhof Cemetery is home to more than 2.5 million graves, which means it has more residents than the living population of the Austrian capital itself, which does not exceed 2 million inhabitants. It is considered the second largest cemetery in Europe and the first in terms of number of burials. This peculiarity has even entered popular language. In Austria, the expression used to talk about death is to catch the 71, a direct reference to the tram line that leads to the Zentralfriedhof. No kicking the bucket or going to a better place. There, when someone dies, they catch the 71. Number 28. Belgium. Belgium gained its independence from the Netherlands in 1830 and became a parliamentary monarchy with strong French, Dutch, and German influences. Today, it is one of the most important political centers in Europe, home to institutions such as the European Union and NATO. But beyond diplomacy and chocolate, the country surprises with its everyday details. It is extremely unusual to find a toilet in the same room as the shower. In many homes, the toilets are separate, usually near the front door, while the main bathroom only has a sink, bathtub, and shower. And when it comes to respect in public spaces, Belgium also stands out. It was the first country in Europe to consider catcalling a crime punishable by a fine. Whistling, intimidation, or inappropriate comments can result in a penalty of up to €1,000. There, catcalling has become expensive, and rightly so. Number 29. Ireland. With its green landscapes, cozy pubs, and strong Celtic tradition, Ireland has become one of Europe's most charming destinations. And a peculiar tradition still attracts attention there. On February 29, which only exists in leap years, that is, every 4 years, women can propose marriage to men. The practice dates back to the 13th century, when, according to legend, Saint Bridget complained to Saint Patrick about men's delay in taking the initiative. He then allowed women to take on this role on this rare date. Today, the idea has become more fun than serious, but it remains a date surrounded by expectation for many Irish couples. Number 30. Hungary. Hungary was one of the centers of the former Austro-Hungarian Empire and became a republic in 1918. Since then, it has undergone authoritarian regimes, occupations, and decades of Soviet control, until it regained its democracy in 1989. And perhaps what many people don't know is that in Hungary, people don't toast with beer. The gesture is still avoided today because of a significant episode in the country's history. In 1848, during the revolution against the Austrian Empire, 13 Hungarian generals were killed. According to tradition, Austrian soldiers celebrated these deaths with beer toasts, in a celebration seen as provocation and disrespect. In response, the Hungarians made a vow. They would not toast with beer for 150 years. And even after 1999, when the deadline expired, many people still maintain the custom out of respect for the memory of the 13 martyrs of Arad. Number 31. Thailand. Thailand is much more than beaches and golden temples. It is the birthplace of the world's most famous energy drink, and the story behind it is very local. It all started with Chaleo Yuvidya, a Thai entrepreneur who, more than 30 years ago, created Krating Deng, or Red Bull, to keep truck drivers and night workers awake. In 1984, Austrian businessman Dietrich Mateschitz discovered this drink during a trip to the country. Enchanted, he teamed up with Chaleo to adapt the formula, adjust the flavor to Western tastes, and launch the Red Bull we know today. What was once a regional tonic became a global phenomenon, all thanks to the idea of a Thai man who decided to share his nighttime turbine with the world. Number 32. New Zealand. On the other side of the Pacific, we arrive in New Zealand, which officially gained its independence from the United Kingdom in 1947, although it had been making its own decisions since the end of the 19th century. But what really catches the eye here is not the date on the calendar, but the count in the field. The country has an average of 9 sheep for every person. In 2020, there were about 45 million sheep for a population of 5 million New Zealanders. The result? There is no shortage of pastures, nor stories of how a simple head count became a trademark of a people accustomed to living in harmony with nature. Number 33. Poland. After exploring the fields of New Zealand, we landed in Poland, in Central Europe, which regained its independence in 1918 after more than a century divided between empires. And here's a fun fact that changes our idea about drinks. Although many associate vodka with Russia, the first written reference to this drink appears in Polish court documents dating back to 1405. Originally used as a medicine, vodka was already being produced in Poland in the Middle Ages, and today the country produces around 260 million liters per year, among the best vodkas in the world. Who would have thought that such a well-known drink originated in Poland and began its career as a tonic before conquering the world? Number 34. Portugal. After toasting Poland, we cross southern Europe and land in Portugal, one of the oldest countries on the continent, officially founded in 1139. The birthplace of great voyages, it was one of the world's first colonizing powers. But far from the caravels, the Portuguese interior holds surprises. Mountain ranges cut across the horizon, and medieval villages seem to have stopped in time. It is there that monuments such as the Alcobaça Monastery and the University of Coimbra are located, landmarks so important that UNESCO has recognized them as World Heritage Sites. Speaking of Coimbra, did you know that it was there, or at least looking at that historic atmosphere, that J.K. Rowling found inspiration to build the Hogwarts Library? The author moved to Portugal in the early 90s and spent time between Porto and Coimbra, studying the architecture and the atmosphere of mystery that today reverberates in every corridor of the School of Magic. Number 35. Paraguay. Returning to South America, we arrive in Paraguay, which declared its independence from Spain in 1811 and experienced one of the bloodiest wars in the region in the 19th century. But something much less tragic catches the eye there. The country is officially bilingual, and Guarani is as strong as Spanish. In schools, documents, and even on TV, the two languages coexist side by side. Few countries in the world value their indigenous language as much as Paraguay does with Guarani. Number 36. Vietnam. Our destination now is Vietnam, which unified as a socialist republic in 1976 after the long and devastating Vietnam War. But beyond the scars of conflict, the country holds a curiosity that is completely unexpected. There is a breed of chicken called Dong Tao, nicknamed the Dragon Chicken. And the name makes sense the moment you see it. The legs of this bird are sturdy, scaly, and reddish, like small tree trunks supporting the body. Males can weigh up to 6 kilograms and females almost 5, well above average. And the value matches the size. A single Dong Tao can cost enough to buy a new motorcycle in Vietnam. That's right, there are chickens there that are worth more than a vehicle. Number 37. Jamaica. Leaving Vietnam, we cross the Caribbean and arrive in Jamaica, birthplace of Bob Marley, reggae icon, and home to the Rastafarian movement, which began in the 30s and celebrates Jah as a deity. But Bob Marley is not the only star connected to the island. It was in Jamaica that English writer Ian Fleming lived part of his life and found inspiration to create James Bond, Agent 007. Several of the early novels were set there, and the first 2 films in the franchise, Dr. No and Live and Let Die, were filmed in Jamaican locations such as Kingston, Ocho Rios, and Falmouth. Today, you can visit iconic locations from these films, including the famous Dunn's River Falls, and get a feel for the cinematic atmosphere that accompanied Bond's adventures. Number 38. Colombia. Continuing our trip around the world, we land in Colombia, which gained independence from Spain in 1816. Home to Pablo Escobar, Shakira, and coffee that has conquered palates globally, the country today is a festival of colors, rhythms, and flavors. But one of Colombia's greatest treasures is hidden beneath the earth. The country accounts for 70 to 90% of the world's emeralds, famous for their intense green color and exceptional quality. The mines are scattered across regions such as Boyacá and Cundinamarca, generating an industry that attracts gemologists, collectors, and curious visitors from all over the world. Deep in the galleries, miners find crystals that have fueled legends and fortunes for centuries, and those who visit Colombia today can experience not only its vibrant cities, but also the underground corridors where the most coveted gems on the planet are born. Number 39. Philippines. Our destination now is the Philippine archipelago, a country that has undergone 2 remarkable independence movements, the first from Spain in 898 and the second from the United States in 1946. But among so many islands, dream beaches, and colorful traditions, there is a place that defies all logic, a place where the living and the dead share the same roof. Literally. We are talking about Manila North Cemetery, the largest cemetery in the Philippine capital. Covering more than 50 hectares, this cemetery is home to hundreds of thousands of dead. But what few people realize is that thousands of living people also call this place home. Due to a lack of housing in Manila, entire families have come to live among tombs and mausoleums. Some have built makeshift shacks between the gravestones. others have adapted the graves themselves as homes. Number 40. Malaysia. Continuing our journey through Southeast Asia, we arrive in Malaysia. The country gained its independence from the United Kingdom in 1957, and today is known for its vibrant mix of cultures, religions, and flavors. And since we're talking about flavor, prepare your nose, because there, what stands out most is not exactly the taste of the food, but the smell. And it's all because of a fruit that has become almost legendary in Southeast Asia. Its name is durian. And even though it is considered a delicacy by many Malaysians, the truth is that durian is famous for a much less appetizing reason. It simply stinks. The smell is so strong that it has earned nicknames such as Fruit of Hell and King of Stinks. In many places in Malaysia, it is forbidden to carry durian on public transportation, in hotels, elevators, and even in some shopping malls. It can only be brought in vacuum-sealed packaging. Its appearance is also frightening. On the outside, it looks like a large, heavy ball of thorns. Inside, the pulp has a creamy, slightly sticky texture, with a color ranging from yellow to reddish. But it's the smell that really stands out. Some people compare it to rotten cheese. Others swear it smells like a mixture of raw onion, rotten egg, and gasoline. And there are even those who say it smells like an open sewer on a hot day. Number 41. Netherlands. We now arrive in the Netherlands, a country that many people still call Holland, but whose official name is the same. They became a constitutional monarchy in 1815, and today they are remembered for their bicycles, canals, tulips, and liberal lifestyle that attracts attention from around the world. And it is precisely this more relaxed lifestyle that helps explain one of Amsterdam's most unusual tourist attractions. Right in the heart of the famous red light district is the Erotic Museum, a space that combines curiosity, history, and a touch of irreverence. Right at the entrance, visitors are greeted by a replica of the Casa Rosso live show, one of the neighborhood's most iconic theaters. Here, sensual dance performances, striptease, and other performances that helped consolidate the region's fame are recreated. But the museum goes beyond what happens on stage. In one of the rooms, for example, there is a collection of pornographic drawings by none other than John Lennon. Yes, the former Beatle. And in another space, with walls painted as if it were a kindergarten room, a completely inappropriate version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is displayed, made only for adults. Number 42. Greece. To end our tour today, we return to the birthplace of philosophy, democracy, and the Olympic Games. Greece, after centuries of Ottoman rule, officially became independent in 1829. But this country is not just about marble columns and ancient ruins. Athens, for example, was one of the first cities to experiment with a very different model of government for the time. There, all adult men who had completed military training could vote and participate in city decisions. It was the beginning of democracy, even if very different from what we know today. And it was precisely in this context that a word emerged that many people still use today without even imagining its origin: idiot. In ancient Greece, the term idiotes was used to describe a person who did not get involved in public affairs, who did not participate in civic life, who was only concerned with their own private life. In other words, an idiot was a citizen who ignored politics while others strove to keep democracy functioning. And so we conclude another tour of the most curious, unexpected, and even bizarre side of our world. If you enjoyed these stories and learned something new today, leave a like, share with those who love a good bit of geography gossip, and subscribe here at Bello Mundo so you don't miss the next destinations. Now tell us, which of these curiosities surprised you the most? And if you could choose, which of these places would you put on your next trip? Comment below, we'd love to know. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.